Hello and welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the videos as you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you like, because the purpose of this channel is educational in regards to atheist and deconversion issues and any issues related to those issues. A hearty shout out to the Rabyd Nation. Join the nation by hitting that subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel in a more tangible way, hit the join button, and your membership options for citizenship in the Rabyd Nation will be presented to you. Today I want to kind of wrap up my reconversion story, and what I mean by that is for this moment. I've been going year by year since I left the faith, and I've finally come to 2023, and I want to kind of put a capstone on that year and move along now that we're in 2024. But I want to talk about what I've learned that year that was so significant, both from a reconstruction standpoint and from a personal standpoint. Now, if you've been watching through the series, you know that in 2023 I was having blackouts at the end of the year during class. I was, dealing with some other issues, very homesick, worried about my family, worried about my mom, just a lot of stress. And I figured that the blackouts and stuff were stress related. I got done with Christmas. I came home in the early new year. My thoughts were, I'm going to finish out my contract, finish out this year, and maybe transfer everything back to Michigan. And the problem was I hadn't been back teaching for maybe a couple of days, and I had another near blackout experience. And this is like early January of 2023, when the school year had just started. And so I backed off. The next day I read a lot of emails to a doctor friend of mine, talked real briefly with the psychologist, counselor on the floor, and started to realize that I needed to leave teaching because the stress level was getting a little bit high. And it was kind of one of those moments because I was really disappointed in myself, okay, because I really felt like I was failing at this. And I don't like to fail at things, but I think as an atheist, I now accept that my life isn't like fated for this glorious end. And so you're going to make missteps. And the thing I was realizing that also is that teaching may not be the career for me. And that was an unfortunate thing because I had invested so much into it and I was starting to do it. But I had a lot of objections to teaching from a professional point of view, and in particular the public school system, both in Texas and in general. And, the stress level, and I'm blacking out. And so I made the move back home. And, I had to stay with my son for a bit. Didn't stay with him very long because I found a job with the world's largest brick and mortar again because I'd worked for them before. I just returned to my job. And they were remodeling the store, so they needed remodelers. So it was, okay, easy plug back in. And then within a very short amount of time, I found an apartment, which I still live in. Okay, so that part quickly resolved itself. The real issue for me was, why in the hell were these blackouts happening? What is it about me that I can't do this particular job? I'd been without my therapist for like a year and a half. And I reconnected with her. I wrote her an email and said, you know what, Ed, we'll talk, okay? And I'll be happy to have you back, okay? And so she brought me back in. I decided this time I wanted to make sure I paid her a little bit, so I do pay her a little bit for every session. It's not a lot, and I'm very thankful for that, but I feel she's earned it, and if I could do more, I would. But early in February, throughout the month of February, we started talking about what was going on, trying to get a diagnosis. And then somewhere along the line, I think it was February, March, maybe early April, she made the statement. She says, Ed, I thought about this before you left for Texas, and now I'm kind of more convinced of it. Would you consider the fact that you might be on the autistic spectrum? And I had thought about that before, and I had been doing research into why blackouts would happen. But, as with all answers as to why something's going on, it's not always that simple. And so I said, yes, I would consider it. And so throughout the month of March and April and all that stuff, I was deep diving the subject of autism, being very autistic in, like really learning everything I could learn, okay, about a subject, which is an autistic trait for some. Um, so I began to apply a lot of because the real difficulty with being an adult that's recently diagnosed with autism, or that's what people think is going on, is the resource level. A lot of autistic resources are dedicated to children, and I absolutely understand that and agree with it. The earlier the detection, the earlier you can start dealing with the issues that those autistic people, deal with. I don't consider autism a disability. I consider it a condition. Okay, it's you just have to make adjustments because of the condition. And I began to deep dive the idea of hypersensitivity, and I'd always been long a long time been high functioning depression and high functioning anxiety. Just never knew why. Now I realize it's high functioning autism, okay, that leads to both of those things and the hypersensitivity that goes with it. And the more I looked at it, that part of the year, early in the year in 2023, the more I realized it fit. It checked off a lot of boxes of, okay, why? Okay, why does this happen? And I began to really, really look at, okay, if I have a lot of stressors in my life and the hypersensitivity is going off at a high rate, my nervous system is wired differently than most neurotypical people, and it has a capacity where it can get overloaded. And I'm getting older, so everything's degenerating. Way it is, welcome to life. My nervous system is degenerating to the point where it can't handle as much as it used to. And so I began to look at the hypersensitivity, be very conscious of my moods in relationship to my environment. And I suddenly realized that if I'm in an area of really bright light, where it's really hot, where there's a whole bunch of smells that kind of block up my nose, I can get really depressed and anxious and things like that. My hypersensitivity was triggering all this other stuff. And the big one is touch, because I never realized how the lack of touch for me can be a real depressing thing. Okay, it's why I started like regular meetings with my daughter to make sure I get hugs and kisses from the grandkids and things like that, because it does so much to affect my mood in a positive way. And I never really realized how that much that affected my mood. And it began to become a revelation, and also my behavior, and my introversion and all things in relationship to autism. Some of you may notice when I do videos, I have a real hard time looking at the camera. It's the same way with people's eyes. I have to really work at it. Like right now, I'm deliberately staring into the camera and it's uncomfortable. Okay, there's just something about that bothers me. So I'm always slightly looking to the side or whatever. And the autism really had a lot to do with it. So suddenly some of my behaviors made sense, some of my history made sense. As I look back through my life, it's like, oh, crap, it's like that's why. And, this has been a very interesting journey this year because I've gained so much knowledge that helps me manage my behavior, my depression, my anxiety. I don't need pills or anything. I just need a realization of what the truth was. And, all praise to my therapist for pointing me down this path. And so, for me, the thing about hypersensitivity became a big issue because I began to realize some of my habits. Like if you watch me long enough, you'll see that I rub my arms, rub my legs all the time because it's a positive touch sensation. Recently, I got a weighted blanket, and boy, do I sleep a lot deeper because I feel like I'm, being embraced and hugged, and the touch aspect of it just really, helps. And all of this was because of the revelation of possible autism. I've had no official diagnosis. Like I said, the resources are pushed towards children and teenagers, and rightly so. Getting them a handle on this can just really make their life open up. And when you look at autism, the life expectancy for people with autism is lower than most people, and people wonder why that is. That's because young people with autism tend to, particularly in the teenage years, particularly girls, tend to commit suicide a lot because of it. They feel like a stranger in a strange land, and they just don't know what to do with themselves. And if I felt suicidal probably in my life, or I've never really felt that way, I think the closest I came was when I was a teenager, and I get it. And so that brings the life expectancy down. For adults with autism, there's not a lot of resources, and I realize it's kind of become my, in the world soapbox. Making this a better world soapbox is, for me, is like, what can we do to get more resources and good self-diagnostic tools? Because the amount of professionals that can do a true diagnosis in autism is limited. It's expensive to do. How do we fix both those problems has become a real kind of in the world thing for me. And so that's kind of where I ended up. And along with that, I was delving back into YouTube. And at the time, I don't remember when I started Simple Life Philosophy. It's a channel, it's still there. Last I looked, I had 115 subscribers. But I began to study, because as I mentioned, in 2023, I became interested in Stoicism. And in early 2023, I began to study Stoicism, and I began to talk about Stoicism as a moral philosophy and as a philosophy of living life. And the big thing for me, coupling with the autism, was learning to say, can I control this? Is this something within my control? Or if it's outside of my control, can I influence it or not? And I suddenly began to drop the things that I was concerned about, because the philosophy says, hey, take responsibility for the things that you can control, and try to influence the things you can influence. But if it's outside your influence range and outside your control range, there's really nothing you can do about it. You probably shouldn't waste a lot of mental energy on it. And it also coupled into my already existent building virtue, being a virtuous human being, and learning how to do things. Learning how to roll with the punches, basically, is a good Stoic idea, too. And I was really struggling with what had happened to me. I'd lost a really good, lucrative career in being a teacher compared to my old life as a pastor. I always love people that talk about how much money ministers make. 95% of them don't, okay? They don't make a lot of money, they struggle. Okay, so that's a misnomer that a lot of atheists and people have about the ministry. It's like the Joel Osteens of the world are a very small percentage. And so moving into the teaching career, I was making a lot more money than I ever made in the ministry, and had benefits. And now all of that was gone, and I was really depressed about that. But then the Stoic philosophy kind of brought me out of that and said, hey, you can't control everything. And I think the real thing with religion, and what I see about it now, is it offers something like power over circumstances. Okay, it offers an alleviation of guilt. It's a false thing. It's snake oil, in my opinion, now that I look at it. But that's what it does. And now the philosophy is like, if I can't control it and I can't influence, I'm not going to waste my mental energy on it. Okay, like how I deal with comments these days has really changed because of it, because I don't, I can't control what people's opinions are. I can react to them, I can try to influence them in a different direction, but sometimes I look at it, well, this guy's probably pretty deep into his theism, and I'm not going to change his mind today, so I'll just keep doing my videos. And that kind of philosophical attitude began to dominate my life. And I was doing Simple Life Philosophy, and on a lark, I came back here to the Rabyd Atheist and said, I wonder how my old channel, Rabyd Atheist, I haven't looked at it in a year. I hadn't done a video in a long time. How's it doing? And when I left it before, it was 646 subscribers, and I was joking that maybe we do a 666 subscriber edition video to kind of celebrate the mark of the beast and all that. And But then I just kind of left, and I didn't really do that with a lot of fanfare. I do apologize to some of my long-term fans. I didn't really say goodbye, but it didn't turn out to be goodbye, did it? So in late June of 2023, I just on a lark pulled up the channel, and lo and behold, my subscriber count is well over 800. And I'm like, what in the, what happened? Okay. And I look back through the analytics, and it's like somewhere in May, June, something happened because I picked up 200 subscribers in a very short amount of time, and I wasn't even active. So I said, okay, I don't know what happened here, and I still really don't, but I'd be an idiot not to try to push this to 1,000 subs and see if I can make some money off of it. And I says, I still have these two other career options that I prototyped back in the day of being a writer and being an atheist activist. So let's go with the atheist activist and see if we can push that into some sort of career. While at the same time, I've got my steady job, I've got this, and eventually I want to work on writing, and that's the goal for 2024 is to become a dedicated, consistent writer. And so that's where I began to head. I came back to YouTube, and some of you can go back to those early videos, and I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling like the Godfather 3, no matter how much I try to get out, they keep tracking me back in. Because I really like the concept of simple life philosophy of focusing on stoicism and minimalism, but I realize that that's even a smaller demographic of people that even care about philosophy. So, but the atheist no God question hits a lot of emotion buttons, and so it's a bigger issue. And so at first I felt dragged into this, and I'll be honest, those first videos were like with a lot of trepidation. I was very anxious. I was triggering a lot of depression. Almost thought about quitting once. And then it started to work. And I hit 1,000 subscribers, and the watch hours became the issue because I had been inactive for so long, but the watch hours were climbing. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. And we hit 3,000 watch hours, and I activated membership, and I have one member now. Some of you need to really consider membership because it's a better way to support a channel. If you really believe in what I'm doing, do it. It's part of the thing. But I got a subscriber. Aso64 has been a member now for, I don't know, he's getting close to 6 months. And I appreciate him because it was like, okay, somebody believes in this thing well enough to like put up a monthly support, payment, and Azo did that. And, Azo, if you watch this video, thank you very much. On an emotional level, it meant a lot. I don't think you even realize. I mean, I know it's only one member, but it was like, it meant a lot to me because somebody was saying, hey, you're worth it, or I'm going to invest my money in you on a monthly basis. And so that means a lot to me. And so the watch hours kept climbing. And in December of 2023, I reached 4,000 watch hours, and ad revenue became a thing. And now I've got ad revenue. And so that's a steadier stream, as steady as ad revenue gets. It goes by your views and stuff. But it was making money doing something. I suddenly realized I started to enjoy this channel and enjoy doing it. And I think what I was missing in Texas is my soapbox, my venting. I'm a former preacher, and I'm hardwired from an emotional standpoint to get up and speak my mind, okay, and have my voice, as the godless engineer would say. And not having that voice and being afraid to use it because I was in the Bible Belt, and that's a realistic fear as a teacher, getting caught out for something that you don't, that might be very unpopular, okay? Which is one of the reasons I have a problem with Texas education, because they're overly religious for a public school system. But it's like, I look at it now and I suddenly realize that the emotional need of having a soapbox and being on YouTube again, suddenly I began to enjoy this, and I enjoy it now. At first I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be dragged back into this. I don't like the stress of it. And I was worried from the autistic point of view and the stress and stuff of whether or not I could pull it off without having another blackout. But as I was learning to manage hypersensitivity, one of the things I learned is that when I'm overly warm, put some, grab grab the old ice pack out of the freezer and slap it on my body somewhere. And boy, does that help. Uh, Learning, the reason why I have curtains in my entire apartment and keep it dark is because the bright light bothers me and makes me anxious and depression. And that it's not a weird thing to like rub myself. You'll see me rubbing my shoulder, my arms, and that's touch. Just trying to have a positive touch experience. The weighted blanket, the smell thing. Realizing, no, I'm not allergic to very much of anything. In fact, when I got an allergy test, it came back almost all negative except for a couple of things. So why am I always stuffed up all the time? Well, that's my body reacting to strong smells. It doesn't like them. Even my hearing and my eyesight. I still don't need reading glasses, and my optometrist a few years ago marveled at that. He said, I thought for sure you'd need reading glasses by now, but you don't. And my hearing is probably normal now, but when I was a younger person, I used to hear all kinds of little things that other people didn't hear. And it's just a hypersensitivity. It's just my brain is taking in too much information and learning to tone that down and getting it to a manageable level. The channel has become a good outlet, okay, of measuring that barometer. And all of a sudden that opened up to me. I would say 2023 because of the YouTube thing and the hypersensitivity and autism thing, the revelations there, but the negative of having failed at something. It started out really rough and it's gotten better. 2023 just got better and better and better. And I'm hoping that I can have at least 1 year. I hope 2024 is a year where I keep climbing and it just gets better. I'm sure I'll have some setbacks, but I don't want them to be the point where I think I failed. Okay, I just want to have one good year. From my perspective, 2020 was a lousy year because of COVID. 2021 was kind of a lousy year because of all the things that went on with my marriage, and changing careers and doing different stuff. 2022 was being a teacher and not really enjoying it as much as I thought I would, and things just went south there. But 2023 has been a little bit different in the fact that I feel like I started in the trough and I've been climbing ever since. And from a reconstruction point of view, to give a lot of you a hope, this is how life is. Without God, you can face the realities of life and realize there might be something about you that you can't change, but you can learn to adapt to. And for me, autism and the hypersensitivity thing were those things that I learned to adapt to. And since discovering that and through therapy and discovering that, I have had more breakthroughs in understanding myself and feeling better and getting past my depression, getting past my anxiety than at any other time in my life when I was a Christian. I'm going to say it before and again, praying and all that religious crap did far less over a 40-year period of my life that I was a believer than the last year has done with just simply the revelation of autism and hypersensitivity and learning to cope with both of them. That didn't come from religion. It didn't come from the Bible. It came from genuine, honest to God therapy about dealing with real life and your real self. And I'm sorry, if you're going to play the game of religion is so beneficial, I would say no. If I've learned anything in 2023, it's how beneficial dealing with real nervous system issues, real human issues, and bringing in therapy and all of that, how it really has helped. And yeah, do I still have my issues? Yes. Am I still learning to manage? Yes. Because 2024 is about, for me, it's about what are the residual effects that religion and my faith and being a minister still have on me. Okay, what are the ways of thinking? What are the ways, the neural pathways that have been set that still affect me to this day? And how do I manage them? Can I do anything about them? Or do I find a way to turn them to something else? What other career can I have besides being a YouTube atheist advocate and maybe being a writer? Is there a third thing that I can do? Because I always like having options. And it's just been a great year in the sense of revelation. I'm in a better financial position than I was at the beginning of the year, at the end of it. But, there's always room for improvement. and learning to focus on the things that I can control, because Stoic philosophy to me helps me deal with reality better. I've always talked about how philosophy is utilitarian. You pick the philosophy of life that works best for you. And for me, it's Stoicism. Okay, so it's all of that, the YouTubing, the Stoicism, the dealing with the autism, the hypersensitivity, has been 2023. And if I can be any encouragement, if you've listened to all of this story and you're deconverting right now and you're going through deconstruction and you're going through reconstruction, the fun part is reconstructing. Okay? The fun part, I know it seems like work, but if I can give you any encouragement, at some point, reconstructing your life is going to start being enjoyable. Okay? I still have a lot of goals. You know, Valentine's Day is coming. When I'm making this video, Valentine's Day is coming in 2024. Next Valentine's Day, I want to be holding somebody's hand. Okay? I want to be putting my arm around the waist of a woman. I want, to be with somebody. Okay? It's a goal. Will I meet it? I don't know. But that's now part of the fun. It's the unknown of it. Even for somebody who's autistic, who doesn't like change and all that stuff, facing the unknown with a plan that actually could work, instead of this pie in the sky, by and by crap, has been so wonderful for my life in a lot of respects. I just, Wednesday, just yesterday, hung out with the fam. It was an enjoyable experience for me. I'm not a big fan for social experience, but I have a possible future daughter-in-law that I kind of gave her some advice, put my arm around and said, hey, it's going to be all right, because she's struggling. And, playing with the grandkids and hugging my kids' necks and having good conversations with my son-in-law, getting past the faith and dealing with life, okay, can be a blast once you get rid of all the religious baggage. And and deal with it with reality, okay, and reason, and dealing with the stuff. If I can end my Reconstruction story, and I mean end because when I hit the end of 2024, I'll probably do another video that'll be added to this. It'll be My Reconstruction Story, Part 8, 2024, and it'll have a title. And I'm going to keep doing this every year, because I think for a lot of you that are reconstructing, it feels like such a chore. And I just want you to understand that if at the beginning of 2023 it felt like a chore, I've now gotten to the point where it feels like a joy. And I want to encourage you with that, because it can happen to you. Well, I think I'm going to end it this one. The next part of this will be probably early 2025. I'll drop another episode of this. But I want, hopefully, to give you some hope if you're going through deconversion and you're deconstructing your life and now you're trying to reconstruct some things, and man, it seems like a lot of work. Take it step by step and enjoy every step of it if you can. Do it. But once again, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate every like, share, and subscribe. As always, live your best life. Don't waste your time, your money, your energy on the trappings of religion and faith, but instead give yourself to building up yourself and building your relationships with the people that you love and care for, and making this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. Trust me, I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.